have been waiting for is nigh upon us. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Holmes, and this is Next Case, and this is my backstage pass that I wore right here on this leg when I went to the Omni here in Atlanta last week to talk to Genesis. I had the opportunity to interrupt their sound check, talk to Phil Collins, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks as well. We're going to take a look at those interviews as well as the music of Genesis and the music of Phil Collins, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks. We hope you enjoy it. And now, Genesis.
Talk to me. You never talk to me. Ooh, it seems that I can speak, but I can't hear my voice shouting out. But there's no reply at all. Dance with me. You never dance with me. Ooh, it seems that I can't move. I'm close to you, close as I can get. Yeah, there's no reply at all. There's no reply at all. I get the feeling you're trying to tell me. Is it something that I should know? What excuse are you trying to sell me? Should I be reading stop or go? I don't know. Be with me. Seems you're never here with me. Ooh, I've been trying to get over there. Oh, but it's out of my reach. And there's no reply at all. There's no reply at all. I get the feeling you're trying to tell me. Is there something that I should know? What excuse are you trying to sell me? Should I be reading stop or go? I don't know. Maybe deep down inside, I'm trying for no one else but me. Too stubborn to say the buck stops here. It's not the one you're looking for. But maybe deep down inside, I'm lying to no one else but me. Oh, but my back is up. I'm on my guard with all the Excelsior. Listen to me. You never listen to me. Ooh, and it seems there's no way out. I've been trying, but we cannot connect. And there's no reply at all. There's no reply at all. There's no reply at all. No reply at all. Is anybody listening? Oh, there's no reply at all. Is anybody listening? Oh, no reply at all. Is anybody listening? Oh, no reply at all. Is anybody listening? Oh, no reply at all.
Hello, everybody. Dave Holmes here for the Video Music Channel. Got a special treat for you right now. We're going to take a pause in the music, and I can't think of any better reason to pause than to talk with Phil Collins of Genesis.
Hello.
The sound check's over. Big show tonight.
Yes.
Big show in Atlanta at the Omni.
It's been a long time since we've been here, actually. We're now hitting a point in the tour where we're playing places that we've either never been to or we haven't been for a while. Last night we were in Nashville, which we haven't been to for a long time, and tonight we're in Atlanta, which it must be about 6 or 7 years, I guess, since we were here.
Wow, that long.
I think it was 1977, maybe 76 we were last here.
When Phil Collins wakes up in the morning and you're wiping off your face, you know, and waking up, you look in the mirror, you got to feel pretty good about yourself. The way,
Not after I look in the mirror.
Going, right, dude?
Sure, yeah, everything's been going very, very well. This tour, especially, has been is at a time when a lot of bands have been moving about. So we're very pleased with that. Because we've been for a while, we're going to have a 2/3 full house probably. But every other place we played, you know, 3 nights in Philadelphia, 2 nights in New York, 3 nights in Chicago, 2 nights in Cleveland. Places like that in Buffalo, which has never sold out, for anybody. Sold out for, I mean, it's just been a great tour. And the vibe from the people have been really nice. They like the new songs as well as the old songs, which isn't always the case. Because quite often they take to the new songs a little less kindly because they don't know them so well.
Like a jungle, sometimes I wonder.
How do you go about structuring the show, given the vast amount of material to draw upon?
This is the source of one of my stories on stage, in fact. Well, no, the thing is, we have got 15 albums to choose from, and we like to sort of go back a little bit and play some stuff that we have never played, if possible, or haven't played for a long, long time. I mean, there are still some songs that we've never played since Peter left, and there are some songs we never played with him. So we try and sort of do as much of the new stuff as possible, because that's the fresher stuff for us, and we also, you know, the stuff we're more excited about. But we also like to go back and take something from at least every album, if possible. We do a smattering of The Lamb Lies Down, and bits of Trick of the Tail, and Duke, and Abacab, quite a lot. We don't do, we do bits of Wind and Wuthering. I think we cover most of our history, really, one way or the other.
You mentioned Peter Gabriel. Was his leaving the band, was that a real critical time for Genesis? Because the critics were also talking about you in the past tense.
Right. Well, that was a bit frustrating, because at the time we all agreed, Peter and ourselves, that we had the same management company and everything. I mean, it was pretty amicable, really, the whole thing. Any adverse comments must have been just made up, because there was really nothing bad going down at all. But we did agree to say nothing until we had something to come up with. And, you know, like if we had an album to release or whatever. So we were rehearsing, and somehow someone got hold of the story, and Melody Maker printed it first, and it was on the front page of Melody Maker. Gabriel quits Genesis obviously finished. And we were in the middle of making a Trick of the Tail, or writing a Trick of the Tail, and so we knew that it wasn't going to be out for 3 months, and that was a very frustrating period, sort of people burying you, like premature burial, really. I mean, you're being buried before you're actually dead, you know, and it was, we were saying, hang on, we've got this great album we're doing. And, you know, stuff like Squonk with Los Endos and Dance on a Volcano, which became very good stage tunes and still are. They were all on that album, and we just felt we had something good. And, you know, when the album came out, people said, oh, well, still a good group. But
Surprises to everyone, of course, but...
Yeah.
But
we knew that we would carry on, you know, if nothing else, just to prove to people that it was a 5-piece group and not a singer and a backing group.
We're going to toss one of your videos right now. We're going to take a look at that, and then we'll be back to continue our conversation with Mr. Phil Collins. Stay with us.
Video Music Channel, WVEU Atlanta.
Well, you can tell everyone I'm a damn disgrace. Drag my name all over the place. I don't care anymore. You can tell everybody about the state I'm in. You won't catch me crying 'cause I just can't win. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore, G. I don't care what you say. I don't play the same games you play. 'Cause I've been talking to the people that you call it friends, and it seems to me there's a means to an end. They don't care anymore. And as for me, I can sit here and buy my time. I got nothing to lose if I speak my mind. I don't care anymore. I don't care no more. I don't care what you say. We never played by the same rules anyway. I won't be there anymore. Get out of my way, let me by. I got better things to do with my time. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Well, I don't care now what you say. 'Cause every day I'm feeling fine with myself. And I don't care now what you say. I'll do alright by myself, 'cause I know. Cause I remember all the times I tried so hard, and you laughed in my face 'cause you held the cards. You don't care anymore. And I really ain't bothered what you think of me, 'cause all I want from you is just to let me be. I don't care anymore. You hear, I don't care no more. I don't care what you say. I never did believe you much anyway. I won't be there no more. So get out of my
we're back, and of course the face that you see is Phil Collins. Phil, was that added pressure when you had to get out from behind the drums to become a frontman, basically because you were doing all the lead vocal chores after Peter Gabriel left the group?
It was, I guess, it was one of those sort of pressures that I didn't really notice. I was very into doing it. I mean, Peter definitely left. He wasn't pushed. He wasn't, elbowed out because I wanted to do it or anything. He left, and when faced with the situation, and we couldn't find a singer. Originally, we tried to look for a singer, and we auditioned lots of people, but we couldn't find anybody that we liked enough, either as a writing partner or that sounded better than I did when I was teaching them the songs. So I ended up being the singer, and as soon as the album had been done, that was Trick of the Tail, as soon as we did the album, and we went out on the road, as soon as the first gig was over, I knew exactly, what I had to do. I mean, I was being thrown in at the deep end as far as the singer's concerned, because I'd sung, but I hadn't sung lead in a group. That was, at that point we were getting to be quite successful. So, usually bands with singers, the singers have that amount of years behind them, as experience, but I didn't. So it was a bit of a crash course, really, in sort of singing and being a front man, but I enjoyed it because I liked the responsibility.
How did you come about choosing Can't Hurry Love? It's a great video clip, and of course starring you in all the roles.
Well, there was a pretty obvious idea to do it like a Motown, old Motown video, when they always used to wear suits that were slightly too small for them. And in fact, I couldn't get a silver lame suit. I really wanted to try and get one that fitted me. They were all sort of they fitted too well. So I had to go for the blue one, which was actually a little too small. And the reason I chose the song was because I grew up with the Beatles and Motown in the 60s, and that was really that's what I listen to even now, like the greatest hits of Motown and all the Beatles albums. So the 60s are really sort of something that I'd like to draw back on whenever I can. And I did a Beatles song on Face Value, and I thought, one idea one day was I wanted to do a Motown song, and I was going to do Going to a Go-Go, then the Stones did it, so I couldn't do it. And then I had a little short list, because there are lots and lots of songs that we could have done.
Well, where do you start?
Yeah. But You Can't Hurry Love was one of those songs I thought everybody would have heard it, but not a lot of people would remember it.
Talk to me at night for some tender
D69, the video music channel, WVEU Atlanta.
See if I really came right out and said it, girl. Why took you so long? It was in your eyes. That looks never far too long. I'm waiting in line. Would you say if I was wasting my time? Did I miss again? I think I missed again. I think about it from time to time. When I'm lonely and I'm my own, I try to forget and get still rush to the telephone. But I'm waiting in line. What would you say if I was wasting my time? Oh, did I miss again? I think I missed again. Oh, I missed again. I think I missed again. When it feels like something you want so bad, and then you think you got it, but it's something you already had. And you can feel it all around you, but it's something you just can't touch. And I can feel it coming at me. Yes, I can feel it coming at me. Oh, did I miss again? I think I missed again. Oh, I missed again. I think I missed again. Seems I'm waiting in line. What would you say if I was wasting my time? Did I miss again? I think I missed again. Oh, I missed again. I think I missed again. Oh, I missed again. I think I missed again. I missed again.
As an artist, given the extent now that video clips are getting exposure, almost in a lot of ways video clips are being played as much as records are.
Yeah.
Yet there is really no, I guess, structure to start getting back some of the royalties, or have a very similar royalty structure, for the videos.
Well-
is that going to come about, you think?
I don't know. It was a very interesting situation when it started. I mean, to be honest, you see, before even the advent of video television, bands were making videos, promotional videos. I mean, the Beatles made them in 1966 for Strawberry Fields Forever, for instance. And although it was film instead of video, it was still for the same use, to be shown when they couldn't appear on a television show. So and for some of those records weren't hits. I mean, theirs was, but I mean, some bands over that period of time made lots and lots of promotional films, and the records weren't hits, so those films were useless. Now, with the advent of video television, it meant that bands could actually, get those videos seen, and it was at least some kind of promotion, and it also meant that you hadn't made this great video for nothing. So, when MTV first started, for instance, it was great to have that outlet. And to be honest, we never thought about getting money for it. I mean, we just thought it's great that people want to show the videos we made, you know. But I suppose now, I don't often think about it, but now, obviously, it's such a big, there are so many programs showing videos, and so many things like MTV, which is a whole channel that is based upon that.